How many times have you exhausted yourself thinking about something that was never under your control? It might have been a decision that needed to be made by someone else, a delay you couldn't avoid, or even that answer that never came. You brood, suffer inside, feel angry, waste your energy, and in the end, nothing changes. This happens because from the beginning, it wasn't within your power to change the situation. It's in this space between what we want to control and what we actually can control that anxiety, frustration, and that suffocating feeling of being trapped inside ourselves arise. But when you turn the key and begin to direct your attention solely to what's truly in your hands, something powerful happens. Confusion begins to disappear like a fog lifting, and in its place emerges clarity. Stoicism is precisely this training of the eye. It's like a lens that helps you see what truly matters, leaving aside the noise. It's an exercise in discipline and simplicity, acting firmly when necessary, and choosing, in each moment, the wisest path life presents. And over time, when you realize you can trust your own power to act, the weight of doubt dissolves. Fear gives way to courage, and indecision gives way to confident movement. In this video, I want to share with you 7 simple yet profound Stoic exercises that you can easily incorporate into your daily routine. These practices may seem small, but they have the power to restore something essential: your peace of mind. If you want to begin this transformation today, make a first symbolic gesture. Write the phrase in the comments. Today I focus on what I can control. It may seem simple, but this is the first training, freeing your mind from the weight of what never depended on you and directing your energy to where it can truly generate change. And before the first lesson, I'll just ask you to do 2 quick things. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll continue receiving content that can help you on this path. Now take a deep breath, open your mind, and let's begin this journey together. 1. Decide today what deserves your energy. Imagine reaching the end of the day, laying your head on the pillow, and before going to sleep, making a mental list of everything you've experienced. Then, silently, ask yourself, would I have lived this day the same way if I had known it would be the last of my life? This simple question can turn your routine upside down. Suddenly, those hours spent scrolling through your phone's feed, getting lost in unimportant discussions, or completing insignificant tasks seem small, almost useless. Meanwhile, moments you often postpone or put off, a hug from your mother, a genuine conversation with your child, a few minutes of silence to take care of your mind, or even that project you dream of starting, take on immense significance. This exercise acts like an invisible filter. It separates the noise from the truly essential. Little by little, you begin to realize that many of the things that occupy your schedule are nothing more than well-disguised distractions. And at the same time, you discover that the simplest experiences, being present with those you love, cultivating a healthy habit, dedicating yourself to what you truly believe in, are the ones that give meaning to your heart. Time spent on the essentials is never wasted. It transforms into memories, strength, and peace. The Stoics called this practice memento mori. Remember that you are going to die. For them, this was not a gloomy idea, but a compass. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." The awareness of death isn't there to scare us, but to awaken us. It invites us to live authentically, to stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter, and to direct our days toward what expresses who we truly are. When you remember your mortality, the superfluous loses its power, and the essential reveals itself. Think, if today were your last day, would you have spent hours fighting online? Or would you have made that important call, written that message, or simply stopped for a few minutes to gaze at the sky with gratitude? This exercise is not about waiting for death, but about learning to live fully. Each day can be a silent rehearsal for your best self. It's like an intimate commitment to not get lost in trivialities, but to consciously choose what deserves your energy. The practice is clear. At the end of each day, look back and honestly ask yourself, if it were the last, would I be proud of what I experienced? If the answer is no, don't blame yourself, just adjust your course. because it's in these small daily choices that you build a purposeful life. And you can completely transform your story the moment you decide to live what truly matters. 2. Practice material and emotional detachment. Think of something you feel you can't live without. It could be that sweet treat after lunch, the endless hours scrolling through social media, or even the habit of proofreading a message 1,000 times before sending it, fearing other people's judgment. Maybe it's something even more subtle, like too much coffee, social smoking on the weekend, or the almost automatic need to check notifications every 5 minutes. These small rituals seem harmless, but deep down, they reveal how attached we are to things we consider indispensable. Now imagine, what would it be like to live without it for a few days? At first, it seems like a huge sacrifice, as if you were taking away a piece of your happiness. But in reality, what you're practicing is one of the greatest freedoms there is, the power of self-control. What you call comfort can actually be your prison. When you dare to let go of something that dominates your routine, you discover you're stronger than you imagined. Life goes on, the world doesn't end, and you realize you don't need it to feel whole. This practice applies to small, concrete things, resisting your favorite sweet treat and realizing that your joy doesn't depend on sugar. Reducing your time on social media and discovering that there's room for genuine conversation, reading a good book, or simply relaxing your mind. Or even taking a step, even when insecurity tries to paralyze you, facing fear with courage. Each choice to let go is a reminder that you're in control, not the other way around. But detachment doesn't just happen in the material realm. There's also emotional detachment, perhaps even more difficult. We cling to feelings like fear, insecurity, and self-criticism as if they were part of our identity. They act like invisible weights, draining energy and impeding growth. You know they're harmful, but you still insist on carrying them. The real challenge is letting go of that weight. Every time you choose to act with confidence, even with doubt screaming within you, you are training your mind to be free. Every time you refuse to entertain a negative thought, you make room for something better to flourish. Seneca said, "Sometimes even living is an act of courage." And that's what courage is, letting go of what no longer serves you, even if it hurts, even if it seems impossible at first. This exercise isn't just about resisting a habit. It's about breaking the invisible chains that impede your growth. It's about letting go of what holds you back to make room for what can transform you. When you let go, you discover that many of the things you thought were indispensable were actually hidden obstacles in your path. The practice is simple and straightforward. Choose something today that you will leave behind in the coming days. It could be a habit like procrastination, an excess like social media use, or even a feeling like constant fear. Remember, your life doesn't depend on what you abandon, but on the conscious choices you make in its place. And here's the most important detail. You don't have to announce to the world what you've decided to let go of. Just make this commitment silently, to yourself. Because when you let go of something that imprisons you, the space that remains is always filled with strength, clarity, and freedom. Tell yourself, "Today I release everything that imprisons me." This phrase isn't about showing off to others, but about reminding yourself that you're freer than you were yesterday. Each detachment is a step toward a lighter, braver, and much more authentic life. 3. Trust the weapons of your mind. Sometimes life feels like a battlefield where everything happens at once. Your phone vibrates with a lingering message, a deadline is approaching, and the urge to give up pounds in your chest. In these moments, our minds tend to trigger old, almost automatic responses: complaining, procrastinating, attacking someone, running away. It's as if we have a drawer full of ready-made reactions, but they rarely resolve anything. The secret is that before the first impulse, there's always a small, silent moment. This almost invisible space between the trigger and the reaction is where you have the chance to choose who you want to be. There reside the invisible tools of your mind: patience, courage, discipline, compassion. When you learn to use them, the external world stops controlling you because your strength no longer depends on what's outside. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic sages, taught that it's not the obstacle that defines our life, but how we choose to face it. If someone offends us, we can use the insult as a patience training ground. If pain appears, we can discover how much resistance we have stored up. And when temptation arises, it's a chance to practice self-control. The secret lies not in what happens outside, but in what you awaken within yourself. This exercise invites us to remember, whenever we face a difficulty, the internal weapons we already carry. You may think you don't have what it takes, but if you look carefully, you'll see that there are already seeds within you. Courage, patience, discipline, kindness. These seeds just need to be nurtured to grow. And when you feel like you're lacking a virtue, the challenge itself will be the perfect opportunity to develop it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Seek within yourself. Therein lies the source of good, and it can flow unceasingly if you always tap it." This means that true strength comes not from circumstances, nor from the opinions of others, but from that silent reservoir within you that never runs dry. Look at it in simple, everyday things. When you're on a diet and refuse dessert, it's not just food that controls you. It's the muscle of self-control being strengthened. When you get up to work, even on a day when laziness weighs like a stone, you're practicing discipline, without witnesses, without applause, only with your conscience. When you teach someone something patiently, without humiliating them, you're cultivating generosity and justice. And when you take a deep breath in the face of provocation and choose silence, you're practicing temperance. Every challenge is like a gym for the soul. The weight may be uncomfortable, but it's precisely this weight that strengthens the invisible muscles of character. The problem is that we often focus only on the difficulties, forgetting the battles we've already won. But the truth is, you've survived days you thought you couldn't handle, overcome pain that seemed unbearable, and found solutions when all seemed lost. If you could do it before, you can do it again. The practice is simple. Next time you are faced with a difficulty, don't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Ask, "What internal tool can I train now?" Because change doesn't happen in grand speeches, but in the silence of each daily choice. If this lesson touched you, write in the comments, "I look within myself." This gesture is like lighting a small flame within your chest, a reminder that the greatest transformations always begin within before appearing in the world. 4. Kill the problem at the beginning. The small disappointments of everyday life are like tiny sparks. A single spark seems harmless, but if left unchecked, it grows, finds fuel, and soon becomes a blaze within the mind that's difficult to control. The same goes for annoyances, a rude comment, a late subway, a message that doesn't arrive, a plan that changes at the last minute. On their own, these are details that might otherwise go unnoticed. But when you repeat these things over and over in your thoughts, giving them more space than they deserve, they multiply and steal all your energy. Stoicism teaches us to stop this cycle early, before the flame grows. It's not about pretending nothing happened, but about changing your perspective on the situation. The feeling of irritation appears, yes, but you can choose what to do with it. Feed it until it becomes a monster, or weaken it until it disappears. This is the key, not to deny what you feel, but to learn to regulate your own reactions, like holding the reins of a horse before it bolts. And if you stop and think about it, you'll realize that many of today's problems would have been considered luxuries in other times. Today, complaining about a 5-minute delay may seem natural, but centuries ago, someone would have taken days or even weeks to reach the same destination. Waiting for a reply that takes hours seems agonizing, but there was a time when a letter had to cross the ocean and the person only received news months later. What we call tragedy today is often nothing more than discomfort, and those who don't know how to deal with discomfort end up becoming slaves to every detail. The philosopher Seneca recalled, "Sometimes even living is an act of courage." The phrase shows that life was never meant to be a smooth road. On the contrary, it has always been full of difficulties. What matters is not eliminating them, but learning to navigate them with courage. Every frustration is a secret test. Either you let it weaken you or you use it to cultivate your inner strength. The exercise is simple. The next time something small bothers you, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, will this still matter tomorrow? Will it matter 5 years from now? In almost all cases, the answer will be no. This question acts like an invisible shield. It cuts off the power of irritation before it can grow and take over. Remember, Those who learn to stop a problem from occurring will never be dominated by it. Small battles won in silence are training for life's great wars. Each time you stop a problem from growing, you build greater clarity, strength, and inner freedom. If this lesson spoke to you, write in the comments, "Here the problem doesn't grow." This simple decision may seem small, but it is at the beginning that you define whether you will be free or a slave to the details. 5. One virtue can change your whole week. Courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. These are the 4 pillars of Stoicism, the invisible pillars that support a steadfast and balanced life. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote, "If anyone finds anything more valuable than these virtues, let him try it, but I know nothing better." And this is where the secret lies. Changing your life silently is not about announcing plans or promises to the world, but about choosing day after day to practice one of these virtues until it becomes part of who you are. Imagine starting with courage. Courage doesn't mean shouting louder than others or pretending you're never afraid. It can be found in simple, almost invisible gestures. It's getting out of bed even when sadness tries to hold you back. It's looking into the eyes of someone you love and finally telling the truth you've been avoiding. It's admitting a mistake and apologizing, even when pride insists on silencing you. Courage can also mean sending that resume you've been forgetting about for months, scheduling the appointment you've been putting off out of fear of the diagnosis, or having the strength to say no when everyone expects you to say yes. True courage rarely has an audience, but it's courage that quietly changes the course of your life. In the week of justice, training manifests itself in small but powerful choices. It's giving back the change that was given too much, even when no one would notice. It's giving credit for the work that truly deserves it, even if it means sharing the applause. It's treating with respect the waiter who serves your table, the doorman who opens the door, or the driver who picks you up, people many ignore, but who also deserve dignity. In larger situations, justice can mean not remaining silent in the face of what violates your values, even when everyone else prefers to look the other way. Being fair means not betraying what deep down you know is right. In the week of wisdom, the training is in the rhythm of your mind. Wisdom is listening more than speaking. It's taking a step back to see a situation from another angle. It's holding your tongue before saying a word that won't be taken back. It also manifests itself in setting aside 20 minutes for a book that broadens your perspective, in learning from someone older, or in silently reflecting on your own mistakes. Wisdom doesn't arrive suddenly. It is built slowly, in the silence of those who observe, think, and only then act. And finally, in the week of temperance, exercise lies within the limits you choose to respect. It's limiting your plate when anxiety tries to control your appetite. It's limiting your credit card when desire speaks louder than reason. It's limiting your work time when it threatens to invade every space, remembering that resting is also living. Temperance is looking at that pair of sneakers you loved in the store window and asking yourself, do I really need this right now, or am I just trying to fill a void? It's turning off your phone to have dinner calmly, without distractions. It's realizing that you don't need everything, but only what makes sense. Each virtue is like a seed planted in silence. You don't need to tell anyone, because the fruit appears on its own. More firmness, more clarity, more balance. And as these seeds grow within you, insecurity begins to fade. What remains is a life guided by values that nothing can erase. The exercise is simple. Choose a virtue and live by it this week. No need to announce or justify it, just practice. Because truly transformative changes don't make noise. They blossom in silence and, when least expected, illuminate everything around them. But there's a catch. If you've been trying for a long time to break out of conformity and ignorance and can't seem to get there, it might be for other reasons, and you don't know what's causing it. But I know what it is. It's anxiety. Anxiety comes like a silent snake and poisons you without you even realizing it. It leaves you infected for days, months, and even years, and if you have it, it would be like living sick. However, there is an antidote from the Stoics which, together with modern psychology, can free you from all this, just as it freed me. I made a video showing how you can rid yourself of this poison in your life. It's in the first comment. Click the link in the first comment and cure yourself of this anxiety poison. 6. The power of a daily review. How many times do you reach the end of the day exhausted, without even really understanding why? It feels like the hours have slipped through your fingers. You've rushed from one place to another, answered messages, put out fires, dealt with pressure. But when you lie down, you feel empty, as if something were left incomplete. It's like living on autopilot, accumulating emotions and thoughts without ever stopping to organize them. It's precisely in this space that mental confusion, anxiety, and the uncomfortable feeling of always owing yourself something arise. Centuries ago, Seneca advised that at the end of each day, we should find a quiet place to reflect. Ask ourselves, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What could I have done differently? He believed this simple exercise could change a person's life. In the 15th century, Ignatius of Loyola called this practice daily examination. Today, psychologists and personal development experts confirm taking a few minutes to revisit the day is one of the most powerful habits for strengthening the mind and cultivating clarity. When you write or consciously think about what happened, something almost magical happens. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You begin to see yourself more clearly. Mistakes stop being scary monsters and become lessons. Successes, which so often go unnoticed, gain the shine they deserve. And every gesture, big or small, begins to have the value it truly has. This exam can be done with 3 questions. The first, what did I do wrong? Maybe today you got angry and raised your voice with someone who only wanted to help. Maybe you broke a promise, even though you knew you could keep it, or spent money unnecessarily just to alleviate a temporary discomfort. These mistakes don't make you a bad person, but until you acknowledge them, they control you. Denying a mistake is holding yourself prisoner. Admitting it is the first step to regaining your power. A mistake doesn't define who you are. It's just a moment when you strayed from your best self. The second question, what did I do right? Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. No one is wrong all the time. Recording your successes is like watering seeds. It might have been something simple. Listening patiently to a friend, completing a task you've been putting off, exercising even though you didn't feel like it, or simply choosing to take a deep breath instead of reacting angrily. Each time you acknowledge a success, you strengthen your self-esteem, fuel your confidence, and remember that you already carry living virtues within you. Small, repeated victories build strong character. The third question, what could I have done differently? This is where wisdom lies. Perhaps you responded to someone unnecessarily rudely. Maybe you wasted an hour scrolling through useless comments online when you could have been reading, walking, or resting. Maybe you avoided an important conversation for fear of discomfort. By asking yourself this, you discover that repetition doesn't have to be a vice. It can become a choice. Epictetus once said, "You are not just responding once, you are becoming what you repeat." Every reflection is a chance to break an old habit and plant a new future. The daily review is like holding a mirror up to your own soul. It doesn't need to be published or shared with anyone. It's a silent dialogue between you and your conscience. You can start slowly. Once a week, grab a notebook or even your phone and answer these 3 questions. Over time, you'll realize you're not just reviewing your day, but gradually shaping the person you want to become. This is the commitment, to truly observe yourself, to note your steps, successes, and failures. When you say to yourself, "Today I reflect on my day," is not just a loose phrase, it's a turning point. It's the beginning of a clearer, more conscious life, guided not by autopilot, but by the wisdom of those who choose their own path. 7. Assume your power to captain. How many times have you felt like you were just existing, living on autopilot, like a passenger in your own boat? It's as if someone is holding the helm of your life while you just watch, unsure of where you're going. You wake up, accomplish tasks, respond to external pressures, but deep down you realize that you didn't choose that path. This happens when we don't stop to clearly decide what truly matters, letting others decide for us. And let's be honest, these strange hands don't always have our best interests in mind. It could be the opinion of someone who doesn't understand your dreams, a social expectation that pushes you toward a standard that isn't yours, or even silent vices that little by little take over. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, warned that we need to constantly monitor what we allow into our minds, because they are the invisible rudder of life. If we don't take care of this, we end up living stories that don't belong to us, as if we were acting out a script written by someone else. To captain your own life is to take back that helm. It's to silently accept that you decide the course of your ship. It's to align your actions with what truly matters to you, without needing applause, without asking for approval. When you do this, your choices cease to be automatic impulses and become conscious decisions. You stop being carried by the tide and begin rowing in the direction you've chosen. A powerful exercise to practice this is the dynamics of I want and I can. The I want represents the destination, the dream, the lighthouse that guides your crossing. The I can is the silent rowing, the concrete action you can take today to get closer to that goal. The I want lives in dreams, the I can lives in the hands. Without the I can, the I want remains just a distant idea. But each I can repeated is a stroke that sets your boat in motion. See how it works in practice. In health, if you think I want to have more energy and lose weight, I can. It might be climbing 2 flights of stairs instead of taking the elevator. It might be preparing your own meals a few times a week. It might be refusing dessert when everyone insists, just one more piece. Or it might be walking for 20 minutes after dinner, letting your body silently thank you. In the career, if the I want is to get a promotion, the I can are clear. You can take on a project no one else wanted, show initiative. You can study 30 minutes a day to expand your skills. You can go to your boss and ask directly, what can I improve? You can trade an hour of distractions for an hour of absolute focus on an important delivery. In relationships, if you think, I want more closeness with my child, I can, it's turning off your phone at dinner and looking him in the eye. You can sit on the floor and build that toy he's been asking for. You can ask, what was the best part of your day, and really listen, without rushing. These small gestures are strokes that strengthen bonds. In financial life, if the I want is saving money for a trip, it could be cooking at home on Friday instead of ordering delivery. It could be selling clothes or forgotten objects in the closet. It could be setting aside an amount, no matter how small, and letting it grow month by month. The I want dreams of destiny, but it is the can that transforms a dream into a path. Without action, desire is just a pretty image, but with each step, it becomes reality. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, stop talking about what a good person should be and be one. The same goes for your goals. Stop just talking about what you want and start acting like someone who already lives that choice. The practice is clear. Choose one today I want and define 3 I can't put into action. You don't need to announce it to the world. Just make this silent pact with yourself. And little by little, you'll notice how your life begins to take direction. If this lesson made sense, write in the comments, I am the captain of my life. This symbolic gesture is a reminder that with each conscious decision, you take back the helm and steer your journey in the direction you have chosen.